Hello, welcome to this ancient coin. Today we are going to clean a coin with an interesting history. This is a silver Victoriatus from around 211 BCE. Victoriati are identified by the head of Jupiter on the obverse and victory erecting a trophy on the reverse with Roma written in the exergue. It was introduced as part of the same monetary reform that brought us the most famous denomination in history, the Roman Denarius. The impetus for these reforms was the lengthy and grueling Second Punic War, which lasted nearly 2 decades from 218 to 201 BCE. For the better part of the first half of the war, the Romans got their you-know-what handed to them by the Carthagenians, whom succeeded in draining the Roman coffers. Up until around this time, Rome did not have a unified monetary system, instead electing to strike coins similar in weight and size to the drachma-based standard of Magna Grecia, indicative of their usage in trade with the cities in southern Italy. So while the new denarius was initially struck at about 98% silver content and roughly 1 1/3 times the weight of a traditional drachma, the Romans also recognized the need for continuing to issue coins that were more akin in value to the old drachma-based standard, either to facilitate continuing trade with the subjugated Greek cities to the south, or intended to replace the local coinage altogether. And so we end up with the Victoriatus, which was not intended to be a subdivision of the denarius, but rather a complement to it. Because it is roughly 3/4 the weight of the denarius and typically has a much lower silver content of about 70%, its intrinsic worth is roughly half that of the denarius. This, of course, was not advertised up front, as there is no marking on the Victoriatus to indicate its denomination or its worth. Despite that, its general absence from hoards containing large quantities of denarii seems to suggest that its debased nature was probably known to the Roman world. Even so, it was consistently struck for 4 decades until about 170 BCE, so it clearly held some value in the rudimentary Roman financial system. During the Roman Republic, it was common for the maniers, traditionally a group of 3 private individuals granted official powers by the Senate to mint money, to imprint their names on the coins issued under their control. All Victoriati are technically considered anonymous since they do not bear the manier's imprints, and that too is the case with the coin in front of us. Later issues do start to include monograms or symbols tying them to the corresponding companion issues of denarii, which suggests to us that this particular example may be an earlier rather than a later issue of the Victoriatus. As is often the case with Roman coins, and if you will permit me a silly pun, we are just scratching the surface here. If you are interested in learning more about the Victoriatus, check out the link in the description below from which much of this explanation is derived.